Hello, Put Me in Coaching family. I hope everyone has had a great couple of weeks. I apologize for the delay in getting back on here and going live. My schedule has been crazy and was stuck at the airport last Sunday. So, anyway, but I'm glad to be back, glad to be here with you. And tonight, I really want to talk about the power of tracking. And I think this is something that we all know we need to do. We just don't always do it. And it's the first thing that we stop doing when we get busy or we don't want to see what's going on, right? That's always a thing. And it really reminded me because the business networking group that I'm a part of, they have this report called The Power of One. And when I look at it, it's tracking all of the measures that makes us a successful member of that organization. And we get a report card every month. And it tells us, are you in the gray, the red, the yellow, or the green? And which simply means, are you doing what it takes to get to where you need to be? And here's the cool thing about it, though, is to be in the green, which means you're getting what you need out of the group, or you're doing your part, you only have to have a score of 70. So that got me thinking, because we try so hard to be so perfect sometimes that we forget to give ourselves grace. And when we look at this as a lifestyle, as just what we do, you have to factor in some moderation. Now, there are times where you're going to not have moderation and be very, very strict. And this is what I'm doing. This is what I have to do to move the numbers and get where I need to be. But then when you look at it from a lifestyle perspective, you have to have that moderation. And so that's where that margin of error, if you will, comes in. So just like the reports for that group, a 70 still gets you to be in the green. That's 70%, right? Which doesn't seem like, in school, that was always a C. I mean, you're average. But here's the thing. When it comes to tracking with what we're doing, if you're tracking the what you eat, what you think, and what you do, if you're hitting those numbers, you probably need to do a little more than 70%. But if you're hitting those goals on target 80 to 90% of the time, you're going to be making some real progress. 70%, you're probably going to be making pretty slow progress, still some, but slow progress. And so it really just got me thinking, like, if we have to figure out that sweet spot, that balance. And the only way to do that is to track. When you're tracking, you know what works and you know what doesn't. And it always takes me back, when I really sit down and think about it, it always takes me back to that one meal I had, and it was at a Longhorn, and it was this chicken dish that I thought was going to be super healthy for me. And then when I wrote the numbers down after, I was appalled. And I remember I wrote a sad face next to it, sent it into Catherine, and was just like, what am I doing? And that really changed my perspective on how I order at restaurants. And that was 2016 or 17. So 10 years ago, we're talking. And it's interesting how those little things stick with you, because I tracked it. Had I not tracked it, I probably would have forgotten. I don't remember what I ate 3 days ago when I don't track it. And that's how it gets out of hand. And I really want us to lock in and figure out. And here's the thing. Sometimes you don't necessarily have to track the specific numbers, right? It just depends wherever you're at in your journey, but still having some accountability to write it down. Because when we don't write it down, it's so much easier to grab a handful of this, a handful of that, a candy bar here, a candy bar there. And it just makes it so much easier to do stuff like that. And I think it's really important when we talk about our goals, you have to have some type of tracking system in place. And that's why I really wanted to talk about just the similarities between that report and then, looking back at what it is that you're doing, and then not being afraid to tighten it up just a little bit more. So when I get people that ask me my opinion and my input on that business report that we get, because that's one of my roles in the group, is to manage that report and help the members increase their score if they want to. And they'll ask me, what do I need to do that? And the answer is, well, maybe you can just do one more thing here or one more thing here. And that's exactly how we have to start thinking about tracking our goals. How can we do one more, just a little better? Can we tighten up our morning routine? Can we tighten up our scripting? Can we tighten up our diet? Can we tighten up our activity? Maybe we're not getting to the gym as much as we should. Can we tighten up our water intake? What's something you can do just a little bit better or do one more of? And when I say one more, it's give just a little bit more effort towards, and focused, intentional effort. And then when I started thinking about being intentional, I started thinking about the event that I was just at this last weekend. And it was yesterday. And the leadership team for that, we're very, very intentional about the recognition we give and the celebrations that we do and the content that we deliver, because we understand that people are looking at us for the recognition, for the information. And when you get really intentional about what it is you want to deliver, that's when you really create an incredible outcome. And so you have to get really intentional about what can you do one more of? What can you do just a little bit better at? And that focused intention, that can make you an entirely different person in 5 months. And we've got about 4 months and a week left in the year. And that's it. That's all she wrote. So when we talk about over these next 5 months, we'll say, what are you going to do? What are you going to get very intentional about? Because you can have an entirely different life in those 4 months and 1 week. So your 5 months. An entirely different life. And I know we talked a little bit about that in the last class too. And that's what I want us to really hone in on. What can we do just a little bit better at? I've been really good about my supplements that I started doing. This was a couple months ago, and I've been consistent with it. And things have been going well. I feel good. And it's, I had a little case of shingles a couple weeks ago, which is why we didn't have our class 2 weeks ago. And that's just a reaction from the condition that I have. And what's great about that, though, is, you hear shingles and you think, oh my gosh. And yes, it's painful. However, it doesn't take me out for weeks like it does most people. And I've had it several times. That's just one of the responses that my immune system gives. And it's fine, right? I can recognize it early. And these are just systems that I've put in place. I recognize it. I go get the care I need and I'm good. But I'm still able to do most of the things I need to do. I just have to slow down a little. And a lot of that is just because of the season that I'm in. I'm always on the go and I'm always doing things. And so my body just says, hold on, we're gonna make you sit down for a minute. And that's okay. But when we think about it, that's when we get very intentional about, okay, I'm gonna do this and I'm gonna get laser focused and have very focused intention on X, Y, and Z for the next 4 months and 1 week. I want us to really see how much our life's going to change over that 4 months. Mine is tracking, and that's why we're having this class today, because sometimes we teach what people need to hear, and sometimes we teach what we need to hear, right? I have not been great about tracking. I've been really good about my supplements. I've been really good about my water intake. I've been really good about my workouts. Those could clean up a little bit, but I had to take a little bit of time off, just again, shingles. But I've been really good about being focused and intentional about those things. Now it's time to get back on track and track all of that. And it's just a simple one more thing at the end of the day that I need to do. And it's just one more, maybe 5 extra minutes that I'm going to take to be focused and intentional about tracking and writing things down. So that is my focused intention for the remainder of 2026 is tracking. And I'm looking at my whiteboard. I'm going to be totally honest. My whiteboard has all my business goals on it. I didn't update it for August. And I should have. So that's going to be something I do tonight is update it for August, even though we only have a week left. I don't care. I'm going to update it for August. Most of the goals are the same, which is why I didn't update it, but that's no excuse. And I'm going to write down my plan of action for tracking everything, right? Because I'm going to track my business. I'm going to track my food. I'm going to track my activity. That's my focused intention for the rest of 2026. And so my challenge to you is, what is your focused intention for the remainder of 2026? We're not doing this on a clean, like you have exactly this amount of time. Nope, 4 months and a week. What is your focused intention? What are you going to get better at tracking? And maybe it's just your tracking. It doesn't matter. You get to pick, but you know what you need to track. And so don't be a cop out, right? You've got cop outs, holdouts, and then all outs. Be an all out for the remainder of 2026 on your tracking, but pick something. Pick what it is you're going to track, but don't cop out and make it something easy that you're already doing. Add one more. And that could be, maybe you're tracking just your protein intake. If you're not tracking all your numbers, and maybe you're tracking just, you're writing down your food. Maybe it's tracking your protein intake, or maybe it's tracking your carbs, or maybe it's tracking all of it. Whatever it is that you want to do, right? Have something that stretches you a little bit, but it's also attainable. Don't choose something that's so hard that you're not going to do it and you're going to give up after one day. Okay. So what is your focused intention for tracking for the remainder of 2026? That is your assignment. Drop it in the comments. I would love to see what your focused intention is going to be for the remainder of 2026. Drop it in the comments. Send it in a text message. Tell me on your coaching session. I cannot wait to hear what we are all focusing on for the remainder of 2026. And we will be back here. Let me look at my calendar, because I don't think we'll be back next Sunday. We will not be back here next Sunday. I will be on a plane. So we will be back here on Monday, the 31st. So that's when we're going to have class next week. So we're still going to have it. It's just going to be Monday, the 31st, which will be great. We'll be closing out the month. We can set new intentions, and we can really get focused on what our intention is going to be for the remaining 4 months. And we can do a quick check-in. Hey, have we done what we needed to do for this last week? Have we actually started tracking? And if not, then we can course correct before it gets out of hand. But my challenge to you, what are you tracking for the next 4 months and 1 week? Get very focused, be very intentional about it. And I will see you back here next Monday, the 31st at 7 p.m. Have a fantastic night, everyone. Wishing you all the success. As always, super grateful for each and every one of you. And I will talk to you soon. Bye.